All right, we're at Baltimore Comic Con with Fred Van Lente. We're talking Generation Zero at the Valiant booth. All right, so first and foremost, I mean, Generation Zero's a characters we haven't seen in like quite a while in the Valiant universe. I mean, last time I think it was Harbinger Wars.
Armor Hunters.
Armor Hunters, yeah, that was it, with the Mexico blowing it up.
Yeah.
So
we all miss them.
Yes.
The denizens of Mexican City, and they're excellent food.
Oh, the taco trucks and a recorder.
Tortas are my personal favorite, but yes, if you wanted to go with the tacos, that's an excellent choice.
So it's been probably a year and a half since that, roughly.
Yeah, it's been 2 events.
It's been a while, yes.
Since then.
Yes.
That was the event.
Yeah.
3.
That's actually a good way to put it. It's 2 events.
Before that was Book of Death. Before that was Armor Hunters.
Yeah. So after all this time, what brought Generation Zero back into the Valiant universe?
Well, as we saw when we last saw them, Generation Zero had been raised basically to be human weapons by Project Rising Spirit, the same shadowy defense contractor that created Bloodshot, and they were freed during the course of Josh Dysart's last Harbinger arc, and now they've kind of run around a bit. They had an adventure in Mexico City, and now they've realized what they want to do is be a paramilitary teen rescue force, and so if you're a kid and you can find them online, and they are interested in your problem and they think it's worthy of their attention, they show up to help you. And there's a girl named Keisha Sherman. She's a junior in Rook High School in Michigan who has a very, very bad problem. She believes her boyfriend has been murdered by nefarious unseen creatures, and the cops won't help her, exacerbated by the fact that the sheriff of the town, the main cop, is her dad. So Generation Zero shows up in Rook in issue 1. Spoilers.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna try to not totally do spoiler this. I'm gonna be fairly good, but we're gonna be somewhat spoilerish, I guess. So the beginning of the comic, I found it really interesting. In the first page, you have all these kind of kids talking out of, I need help, I need you to do this and that. But the choices that you did with that, I mean, you one that was clearly someone that was transgender that didn't want to come out to their parents. I forgot that was the one that really jumped out at me.
Right.
So I mean, it's starting the comic. It seems like a very socially conscious choice and a socially conscious comic as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, teens are on the forefront of their sexuality, and they're on the forefront of sort of a lot of issues that we deal with right now in ripped from the headlines type stuff. And I thought being true to that, everyone's trying to figure out who they are, and often that deals with gender identity and sexual orientation and racial identity and all that stuff. And so definitely want to sort of confront that head on, that the kids are sort of part of that milieu, Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of the thing that really struck me on the first issue, is it really is the kids going to fix it. This is a teen superhero group. It's a teen girl who's the one that notices that something's not right in her town. Right. And it really kind of has this, the next generation is the hope vibe about it all.
Exactly. But they're also kids, right, with superpowers, with all the immaturity and not quite there emotionally or being able to control your emotions that entails. So they may cause a lot of property damage. They are kind of juvenile delinquent superheroes, which is sort of super fun. But the threat they're up against is very menacing. Like kind of what I wanted to do with this is almost make them be like characters of folklore, where they're kind of dangerous and beautiful at the same time. And sort of the way Keisha summons them, it's online and it's very 21st century, but still it's very like ritualistic and almost like a summoning, like a magic summoning.
It really felt like a conjuring of the characters.
Exactly. That was exactly it. And so it's just super fun, and it's so cool that people are really responding to that aspect of the series.
Yeah. So where did the idea of having them be reached out to through a website come from? Because as you said, to me it felt really like they were being summoned, but in a modern day take on that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the original inspiration was the A-Team.
Okay.
Where that's sort of what Warren Simons was talking about. Was like
theme going through my head.
Yeah. Da 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 da. Now you can curse me all you want. So the original idea was kind of this A-Team thing where it was like, if you can find them, and they can help, here comes the A-Team. So, but I was like, I didn't want to like literally do the A-Team because I don't want like cabbage guns being a superpower and like being afraid of going on planes and stuff. Also, like the A-Team was big when I was a teenager, and I feel like kids today aren't really going to be relate to the A-Team very much. So but I thought it was a clever idea of having them be proactive, because so often, the teen characters were on the run from the government or whatever, but I was like, nope, the government can't find them. They're on their own. They're trying to figure it out. And so I kind of wanted to do a series where, okay, we've escaped from the government. Now what? What are the new problems we have to deal with? Oh no, now we have to live our lives. Freedom, horrible freedom. So that's again what the series is about.
The other thing that caught me was the fact that the town that you're having this first arc in is somewhere in Michigan, and I kind of took there's obviously a lot going on in Michigan with water quality and all that. You basically have a town that feels very gentrified and white, and rich people have walked in and made fixed something.
Right.
It's got to be on purpose, somewhat.
It is on purpose. Yes. So there's a law. There's a screwy state law in Michigan where you can take over an entire town by what's something called an emergency manager that I believe is assigned by the governor. Yep. And it's caused a lot of shenanigans, not the least of which was the Flint water crisis was caused in part by the emergency manager being in charge. So there's an emergency manager in charge of Rook who seemingly has transformed the town overnight from kind of a Rust Belt sinkhole to a tech giant, like a mini Silicon Valley.
Michigan Miracle or something.
Yes, the Michigan Miracle is what it's on, or Redneck Dubai is the other nickname for the town. And so Keisha's boyfriend thought there was something a little fishy about this, started to investigate it, and then died in a drunk driving accident, finger quotes. And so she's trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. So, spoiler, folks. The thing that came out was how she finds out is a kind of like a low-tech way, in a really odd sense. So you have this high-tech of getting Generation Zero there, and then this low-tech of how she's kind of confirmed that something's up.
Yeah, her boyfriend sends her a CD-ROM, which is kind of like this ancient technology, exactly. But he knows because she has this ancient car with a CD player in it, she can actually play. I don't have anything that can play CDs.
I was about to say I have very few choices on that one.
I got a CD the other day, and I was like, thank you. How can I listen to this? I have no way of doing it. I need to build a laser, basically, to zap the CD with to make sounds come out of it.
Well, the other is, so the thing that I found that was interesting to me is by having a CD player in her car, you set this is where she is in the stratus of social and economics and all that in her life. It was such a really subtle thing that really kind of sets the tone as to how she is compared to the clearly rich kids that she has to deal with at school.
I mean, her dad is sheriff, which obviously comes with a certain salary, but it's nowhere near what some of these tech CEOs in the town are making.
So I wasn't reading too much into it.
No, not at all. No. Well, it also sort of indicates that she's from she has kind of a semi-strict upbringing because her dad is the sort of the backstory of that is her dad's not just going to buy her a car. That's like a hand-me-car down from his car 3 cars ago. You know what I mean? So that's why I specifically had, because I had a friend that had this. I specifically made sure Andrew, the colorist, knew one door is painted a different color than the rest of the car. That's how old this car is.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I think we all had that friend in high school who had the one car.
Exactly.
And you're like, oh, dude, they got a car. Wait, the doors are a different color. All right, whatever.
One day I'll be able to afford to repaint the whole car, but no, never happened.
So you've kind of described the series as, I think it was a Kirby does train spotting somewhat?
That was Rafer's great thing for Harbinger. I called it Archie Meets the Authority.
There we go. Okay. So I mixed it up. So the Harbinger I actually wanted to bring up because Generation Zero is coming back, Harbinger is coming back, and I know as a whole Valiant is really good in tying everything together, and it's not probably a coincidence that they're both launching at similar times.
Right.
So how much coordination really actually happens when you're all kind of putting together the next arc to the next event type thing?
Well, I mean, we have a summit. We try to have a summit every year, and so I know what everybody's doing. I mean, we don't coordinate necessarily. I think all the series need room to breathe and grow on their own, so I think it would be likely that there is going to be a crossover at some point, but that's very vague at this point because Keisha and the Generation Zero kids have an entire adventure to sort of go on before we can get there.
So with the series, we obviously know a lot of the Generation Zero from the past. Are we possibly going to see more, characters joining the team of maybe psyops who got away that weren't prevalent in stories previous?
I'm definitely going to introduce new psyops, some as antagonists, some you've already met. Hint, hint, hint. But there were a lot of. I left about a third of the team off the roster this series just because I had to add, all the Rook characters, and it just started to I started to kind of lose my mind a little bit. In fact, there's so many members of Generation Zero, you don't meet all of them in the first issue.
Yeah.
There more are coming in the second.
So with the, obviously there's a big gap story-wise of where Generation Zero is. Have you kind of sat down and say, all right, this is what they've been doing in that time period, or are you going to deal with it when you actually have to get to it?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it, but at the moment, we kind of had our hands full with the present. I like keeping the storylines as much in the present as possible. One of the things that a retailer just gave to me yesterday, and she's like, thank you so much for writing a book that I don't need to read 12 of their comics to understand.
And that's, you know what, and the thing is that's the thing that really strikes me about Valiant as a whole, is you can pick up with a new arc and, a new series launching off without having to read previous things. As there's a writer for you, I mean, there is a massive history here with these characters. I mean, Harbinger came out 4 years ago, something like that, roughly.
2012.
Yeah, okay. So I was right on my time.
Yeah.
I was actually, that's pretty impressive of me. So there really is a history, but at the same time, you don't need to go back and read all that. I mean, that's
right.
For you as a writer, like, what's the challenges of making something accessible like that, but knowing that there's like a huge history?
I mean, honestly, that's just fun backstory. It's like, if you're trained in kind of fiction, I mean, to me, continuity is like, if you're doing like a straight play or whatever, the backstory could be Norma was married before, and he was a jerk, and the guy was a jerk and cheated on her, and this kind of has affected how she deals with relationships, Like, that's not like, I was born in space and came here as a baby, But it's still kind of, you still have a backstory as, whether even if it's, we all have backstories, right?
Yeah.
We all had something to do before we got here. I think the key is that you just need to avoid assuming people know what the backstory is, right? That's when it gets dicey.
It makes a hell of a lot of sense. I love the Ivar and Archer. We've got to give those plugs. Archer and Armstrong's like one of my favorite series in a while. I mean, it had a great sense of humor. Any chance we'll see those characters showing up in Generation Zero? I can see Archer and Armstrong being.
There is one character I think you might see in Generation Zero.
Okay. All right, we'll leave it at that.
Those who read Ivar know who she is.
Oh, okay. We'll give a bit more of a hint on folks. So yeah, I mean, for you, like, what is Generation Zero? Like, what's kind of that thing that you're really driving in the comic?
I just want to sort of experience that kind of scary / exciting time of being a teenager. I've never really done a teen book before. This is a genre that's totally new to me, and so it's totally exciting, and I'm really having a good time sort of reminding myself of what it was like, good and bad, to be walking through the halls of your high school,
Yeah. All right, now I'm getting flashbacks. All right, so I appreciate it. And
Sure started.
Yeah, thanks so much for talking.
Yeah,
appreciate
no
it.
problem, brother. Cool.